Today's lesson on life is your loved one safe? Signs that it's time to transition. This month we've been featuring the Crossings at Harborview, a full-service continuum care retirement community owned and operated by Harmony Senior Services in Roanoke, Virginia. The facilities are open to those 62 and older, and they offer rental apartments, assisted living, memory care facility, transportation, meals, activities, as well as housekeeping and physical, occupational, and speech therapy. Today we're going to talk about something that's really scary but important. Have you thought about how safe your loved one is living alone? Here to discuss the signs we should all look for when deciding if it's time to transition ourselves or our loved ones from their home is Miss Crystal Hoy. Please welcome her to the show. Thank you. Welcome, Ms. Crystal.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for being here. Now, I understand you're the sales associate at the Crossings at Harborview, right?
Yeah.
And as I was telling Michelle in the last episode, I have this paper. It's a January paper, actually, and I saw the two of you in here. And this is, of course, had the paper before we actually met, and then, of course, we've met several times. But there are my two ladies. It's them right here. So it just says to name to the Crossing staff. And so from this, I know that you also have been involved with Bon Secours, and you work with the Portsmouth Task Force on Aging. So tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, like most people coming out of high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, so I'm
here to help you with that.
I went to college, kind of got a degree in liberal arts, and after my degree, I went to work part-time in a skilled nursing facility, just as a summer, thinking I'm going to go back to school. Summer thing, which turned into 13 years at a skilled nursing community that was in Portsmouth. So I found out during that time that seniors were my passion, and that I just so loved helping the families and the residents transition is that in that time of their life. So I was there 13 years. That led to my husband and I opening a wheelchair transportation company. We felt like there was a need in the area. We did that for 9 years. So again, we worked for seniors and with that. And from that point on, I went to work for an assisted living and memory care community in Portsmouth as well. So I've been through skilled care and assisted living, memory care, and now I had this opportunity to work for the Crossings, and thought that it would be a great growing and learning experience.
Definitely. Great fit and some wonderful experience as we've been here in this past few weeks. Awesome experience from the staff, and you also, you have such a warm spirit, and it's obvious that you love seniors and that you're passionate about this work. So thank you, and I know that they consider an asset for you to be at the Crossings.
Oh, thank you.
Like I said earlier, there's a lot of information that we're trying to give the aging adults and their children. Talk to me about the decision to move.
Well, the decision to move is very difficult, of course, to help an aging parent move from a home that they've lived in for many years to a retirement community such as the Crossings. But above all, you want them to be safe, and you want them to be well. So there's a lot of signs that you can look for. When you go visit a loved one or parent, aging parent, look around the home a little bit. When you're walking up the driveway and the car's in the driveway and you see that there's some scratches and dents and things going on that you think, maybe mom shouldn't still be driving.
I see a lot of people rolling up to Walmart to the handicap sign, that little yellow pole, and they just run right into the pole.
I see that too. Another thing to look for when you're in the home, looking around to see things like, are they taking their medications? You may see a full bottle of meds on mom's dresser, and it's halfway through the month, and they're really not able to manage their medications.
That's important.
Maybe they're not managing their grooming. They're not bathing regularly or dressing properly. Things also like you may go to make a sandwich and you go in the refrigerator and there's full of rotten food.
The bread is all moldy. Stuff's outdated.
So you know that they're not eating properly and making good choices for that. And there's a lot of other things you can look for as well.
There's a lot of signs that we want to talk to people about, and it's very scary, and I think that a lot of adult children don't don't know. No one's saying you need to look for these signs. It's, you know, you go to visit, you say hello, you stay around for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour, but are you going through the refrigerator? Are you taking a walk around the car? Are you checking to make sure that things are safe for them? And so those are things that we want to happen. I want to, if there's anything else you want to add for the signs, I thought of this lady that I met about a month ago in the post office, and we were just chit-chatting, and she was filling out some money orders, and then she turned and said, gosh, I got the wrong money order. And so she just kept talking, and long story short, she was getting a money order to send off somewhere, and that wouldn't have been a big deal, except that she said, I want to send it off to help some children. And so that sparked me to ask, are they your children? Sure. And so, of course, they're not her children. She had explained that someone had called her by name at her house and was wanting her to help these children in another state, and wanted her to send $25. And she said, and it's not much. And I explained the whole scamming process to her and how people take advantage of our seniors. And she said, well, it's only $25. And I said, but it's $25 from you and 1,000 other people. I said, and that adds up to be quite a bit for that person. I said, you know, and in her heart, she really wanted to help. And even with me saying that, she said, well, I'm just going to send it this one time. That's why I'm using a money order. And I was like, but they still have your phone number, you know, and obviously you can get an address from Google or something like that, but there's a lot of scams out there. Those are things that you want to pay attention to. Also, as part of the signs, is their money going away little bit by little bit? You just never know. What are they paying for? What things are they buying or purchasing? And make sure they're the necessities and someone's not taking advantage of them. And I just thought of another example that Peggy had given when we were all talking about someone calling and saying, Grandma, you know, and then of course the senior saying, oh, for example, Danny, is that you? And the person goes, oh, sure, of course, it's Danny. You know, can you send me money? And so that was a huge one. That just sort of stuck out in my mind when I'm thinking of signs. Are there some other key ones that we want the adult children to be aware of?
Yeah, you could, if you go in the kitchen and you see pots on the stove and they're burned, you know, or there's pot holders that have burned edges, you know that mom's forgetting to turn that stove off, which of course you know how devastating that can be and dangerous. Things like that, things like just seeing if there are any bruising on them, like it may be a sign that they've had a fall. Oh yes, the falls. That they're limping or middle, you know, and they of course don't want to tell you that they're falling or having problems because they don't want to have that conversation.
Yes, exactly.
But that's one thing that to see if they, you know, or if you're getting more calls during the middle of the night and that there's things going on, more trips to the emergency room.
Exactly.
Just that decline, the overall decline, frailness, maybe weight loss. Just getting a really good picture of what's going on with mom or dad, and to see that they just really aren't managing very well.
Paying attention is just so important, you know, wandering off, you know, those type of things. Missing doctor's appointments. There's so many key things that, you know, we could think that they're not that big of a deal, but they are a really big deal.
Absolutely.
And that's why I said this is scary, because anything could happen to them. I mean, you know, we think, okay, they didn't take their medicine. But if it's for something really important like breathing, that's really important, or anything else like high blood pressure or whatever, kidney functioning. It's important at that age to make sure that they're taken care of. So thank you so much for sharing a little bit of those signs, because they're super important.
And there's one more that really comes to mind, and that's the socialization aspect that's so important. You know, maybe they've quit going out with their friends, they quit socializing, and they were someone that was very social, and they're becoming more isolated in their home, and that can cause depression, of course.
Exactly.
And it could be a sign of dementia as well, or
exactly. And I always talk about that one, because so many people as they age, they isolate, and they always say to me, it's because my friends are passing away. You know, and I say, you know, I want you to get new friends. You know, there are other 85-year-olds, there are other people out there. I know you're friends of people that you grew up with, maybe they are passing away, or siblings are passing away, but let's get some new friends. You know,
this sense of community, it makes it a lot easier for them to do that.
Exactly. And on the early episode, we talked about the benefits, and we talked about the pub and the dinner and those type of things. So it's places where you could go and actually meet other people of your same age if you don't want to talk about something more young that's on TV that you really don't care about, but you want to talk about things from your era. And so there are new people, new friends.
Absolutely.
When is independence not really independent? You know, that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about. When I think about this, it's when you're not really that independent, when you're not really doing the things that you feel like, well, I'm independent, but if I'm paying the bills and I'm doing everything for you, are you really independent?
And that happens a lot. I'll have a mother and daughter, for instance, walk in and mom says, I don't need to be here. I'm completely independent. I take care of everything. And
the daughter's looking at you
the daughter's like, no, not really. And so, well, you know, we have that dialogue, open that dialogue, that conversation, and say, well, tell me, what is a typical day for you? Tell me how your day goes. And then as you talk through that, you realize she really isn't doing those things, that the daughter, adult child, or son are doing those things. So that, and sometimes the moms will look over and say, well, that's why you're so tired all the time. Because maybe you really are doing everything, and I thought I was taking care of things. So.
Yeah. And that's and you know, that's a balance. We'll talk about sort of the caregiver role. We'll talk a little bit about, you know, making sure that, you know, it's the right thing to do for your parent. You know, there are lots of options. You know, it doesn't have to go straight from moving to your home to, you know, assisted living or you know, a facility. There's lots of things in between, which we'll talk about later. But I want to just sort of make that comment, because a lot of people, again, we're talking about mindsets. A lot of people do believe that they are truly independent, and, you know, sometimes we're not. Last, I want to ask you, so when is it time to transition into a retirement community, and how do we start that process?
I think the best way to start is to have that open, honest conversation with your parents. Let them know that you're concerned about their well-being and that you're worried about them. And that maybe it's time to at least look at our options. Let them know you're an advocate for them and that you really want what's best for them. And the best way to do that is, I think, and it doesn't always work the first conversation. Sometimes it may take a few conversations, but to just let them know, you know, I am an advocate for you. I want you to be safe. I want you to be happy. I don't want you to be lonely. So let's look at what your options are. Let's look at some communities together and see what's out there and what your options are.
Exactly. Doing it with love and care, and letting them know that this is, you know, something we're going to do as a family, not something I'm forcing on you. And as we keep saying, as a thread throughout this, be in charge of this process.
Absolutely.
You know, we really want you to be in charge of this process. Didn't she do a great job? Yes. Give her a hand, Ms. Crystal Horst.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being on the show. And thank you so much for watching. It's Life Changing. We'll be right back. It's now time for me to speak into your life. As I was praying about what to talk about for this segment, two songs came to mind. Both are by a Christian songstress, Shirley Caesar. And for some reason last week, I've been working with some elderly families and going through my own memorial services and loss of loved ones these past couple of months. And I was listening to these two songs, and they both came to mind when I was thinking about this. And one is called I Remember Mama, and the other one is Don't Throw Your Mama Away. So the title of this is Don't Throw Your Mama or Your Papa Away. And so I want to read you sort of the lyrics of this song, because I think so many people, when they're dealing with their aging parents, they lose sight of what's really important. They lose patience, and they only think about sometimes the things that they have to do. They only think about sort of the things that they have going on in their lives. And so I have a point that I want to pass on to you today. But before I do that, I want to share something with you. Here are the lyrics to this song. I'm not a singer, so I'm going to read. There was a mother who had two sons, and one of her boys was interested in pleasing his mother. The son loved his mother very much. He said, Mama, one day I'm going to grow up and I'm going to college. I'm going to be somebody. I'm going to take care of you, Mama, like you've been taking care of me. That other brother, she said, he was no good. He stayed in trouble all the time, and he said, Mama, always go to court and get that boy out of trouble. She always had to do things for him. She was praying all the time that he would change. But I'm told tonight that the two boys grew up, and one went to college, but the other son, he left home. The old mother worked her fingers to the bone and sent her son to college. She got on her knees and she scrubbed floors and she took in washing and ironing because she wanted her son to be somebody. About 8 long years later, that son came back home and he said, "Mama, I'm a doctor now. I got MD behind my name. I want you to meet my wife. I met her while I was in college. She's a school teacher." He told his mother, "I want you to come and live with us." The years went on, the children grew up, and one day the school teacher went to her husband and she said, "Honey, your mother is in the way." Actually, she said, "Your mama is in the way. She gets in the way around the house. She uses bad English, and I don't want it to rub off on our little children. I think you ought to put her in an old folks home." Let me tell you what he did. The doctor went to his poor mama and he said, "Mama," and I can't say it like Shirley Caesar, but if you know Shirley Caesar, you know she put emphasis on that, okay? So me and my wife, we've been talking, and she seems to feel that you're getting in the way around the house, and we don't have anything else for you to do. You use bad English, and we don't want it to rub off on our children, and I'm going to have to take you to an old folks home. I have to take you to an old folks home. Well, the mother turned around and went back into her room, and tears began to run down her face. She began to pack up her clothing, and the devil came and whispered in her ear, "See there, old lady, look at all that you've done for this boy, and now he's about to throw you out the door." The mother kept on crying, and early the next morning, the son came and knocked on the door. He said, "Mama, get your stuff together. The limousine is waiting for you outside." The mother reached back and got her hat and coat, and she walked outside of the house. She got into that long limousine, and she started down the road as the tears continued to run down her face. Every now and again, the doctor looked back at his mama, and he said, "Mama, in that room out there, there's going to be a color TV that is going to be nursing around the clock. You're going to have everything you could ever want." The mama just kept on crying. He said, "I'm sorry I have to do this. I have to put you in an old folks home." The mother turned and she said to her son, with tears running down her face, she said, "Son, I could see if I couldn't help myself, but there's nothing wrong with me. The doctor said that I'm doing good." But he said, "Mama, you have to understand me and my wife." About that time, as they almost got to the old folks home, the mama looked down the road and she saw a car coming closer. The mother said, "Wait a minute, I think I see my other son." They got out and they greeted one another with a kiss. And the one that was the no good son said, "Mama, how have you been doing? I was on my way to tell you I don't do the things that I used to do. I stopped by a church one night and I got myself together." He turned around and he saw his brother and he said, "Brother, where are you taking my mother?" The doctor said, "Now wait a minute, you've been gone for a really long time. I'm the one who's had to take care of our mother. And I'm a doctor now, in case Mama didn't tell you, I am somebody." He said, "I'm tired of Mama praying. She's moaning and groaning in our bedroom every time our friends come over. And we're on our way to an old folks home." The other son said, "Did you say you're taking my mother to an old folks home?" He said, "Yes. And wait a minute, Mama lives in our house." Okay? He said, the other son said to his mama, "Mama, I don't know if you want to do this, but I do not live in a fine home, a big home." He said, "But listen, I have one good room and you can have it. I have one good bed and you can have it. I don't eat steaks, but I eat beans and greens and potatoes and tomatoes. And if that's all right with you, I'd like you to come live with me." The mama grabbed her bag and her hat and her coat and changed cars. I want to remind us, as we talk about these different things, that it's really important to think about the decisions that we're making. It doesn't matter what you've been through with your parents. It doesn't matter what you're going through right now. I truly believe that we have an obligation to look after our parents. I don't know what your values are, but I believe that whatever that choice that you have to make, whether they're living with you or they're going to a fine facility like we've been talking about at the Crossings, but we have an obligation to make sure that they live the rest of their lives the way that they really need to live, living happily. Last thing I want to say, because I know I'm running out of time on this segment, is when you think that you don't have enough money to help your mother or your father, I want you to think about how much money it took to raise you, that they were living off of probably a little. You might have felt like you were rich, you might have felt like you had a lot of things, but you probably didn't. Some of your parents probably worked not 1, but 2 or 3 jobs just to make sure you had things that you needed. When you say, I don't have enough food to share, I want you to think back to your childhood when you really didn't have that much food, but you had enough that everybody was able to eat. And so when you say in your schedule, you don't have enough time to take care of your mother, your father, or stop by and see them, think back to the time that they spent with you, the nights that they stayed up with you wiping your runny nose, okay, the time that they spent taking care of you. So when you say, I can't do it, I want you to think twice about, can you really do it? That's all I want to say to you today. Just leave you with something to think about. Thank you so much for watching. It's Life Changing. We'll be right back. It's now time for our community resources. First on the show, I have with me Miss Ann Armistead. Give her a hand. Welcome to the show, Ann. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm fine. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Now, I understand that you do an awesome job helping people. So tell us a little bit about what you do to help some of our seniors or people in the community.
Sure. I really enjoy what I do.
Okay.
My company name is Downsize Designs.
Okay.
I do just what that says. I design your downsizing process.
Okay.
I'd like to tell you a little bit how I got started with it. About 10 years ago, I helped my parents move.
Okay.
A little bit more than that.
Okay.
And it was a lot of work.
I bet.
And I didn't want them to have to do anything because they were in their 80s and it was time for them to make a change to a facility.
Okay.
And they were not even from this area. They were moving to this area for me, bless their hearts.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So it really
from
nice.
Another state, though, that's a huge undertaking.
It was another state. But anyway, I'm an evangelist for that.
Okay.
For moving where your children want you to be. Do it if they ask you to.
Okay.
What a blessing for me.
Yes.
Anyway, I did everything. I sold their house. I downsized them. I put the boxes in the new place, unpacked everything, put the art on the walls.
Awesome.
When they walked in, their toothpaste was where it's supposed to be, and their slippers were where it's supposed to be, and everything. And the look on their face was just incredible because they were moving to some place they didn't really want to move to, didn't think it was going to be nice.
Exactly.
And they loved it.
Yes.
And it was beautiful.
Oh.
And that's what I wanted to do for everybody else.
Okay.
I thought, how brilliant.
Yes.
I am so smart.
Yes.
Because this is a great idea for a business.
Yes.
Got online, there were 400 other people doing it. But, from all across the country, though. There aren't very many of me here in this area.
Okay.
So that's what I try to do for everybody else. It's really important that seniors be safe when they move.
Yes.
They shouldn't have to walk around boxes.
Exactly.
That's really unsafe.
And it's really hard to unpack and lift and put all those things away.
And it's depressing to move to a new place and be surrounded by stacks of boxes.
And most of the time they don't want to get rid of anything.
No, they don't want to get rid of anything.
That's the other big thing.
But when they get to the new place, if they haven't gotten rid of a lot, then they're going to be surrounded by boxes and be depressed and sit in their new apartment and not meet people, and it's just
not what we want.
It's not what you want at all. So the seniors and their families often also need this help.
Yes, they do.
Kids don't have time.
Exactly.
Lots of times they've got their jobs, whatever, and this way they can help mom by paying me instead of doing it themselves if that's what needs to happen.
I love that. And they want to keep the old cheerleading outfit. You don't need that anymore.
No.
You have 3 kids. You don't need that trophy when you ran track in 5th grade.
Right.
You don't need that.
And I work with the seniors. I work through the sorting process, not just the moving. We start ahead of time.
That's big.
And it's really nice to have someone who is objective instead of a child to argue with you. Mom, you don't really need that, or telling mom why that isn't important. Of course it's important to them.
To them, it's their memory. Exactly.
Yeah, it's their life. Yeah, so I do the whole thing, soup to nuts, whatever's necessary, or however little is necessary.
Okay.
I can stage their house to help it get sold if necessary. If not, that's fine. Just do some basic organizing, and the most important thing about downsizing is if you know where you're going first, then there are some parameters.
Exactly.
You're not just saying, oh, maybe I'll keep this, maybe I can fit this in somewhere. No. You plan
Yes.
exactly where everything's going to go.
Yes.
And if you don't know where it's going to go,
Exactly.
it shouldn't go.
Exactly. I love that, because if you're going somewhere and you're moving from, say, a 3 or 4 bedroom home to a 2-bedroom apartment, that's a lot of stuff. And, you know, a lot of people like to think that our seniors are hoarders. It's not that they're hoarders. It's just that they didn't have you. They didn't have someone. So they took their 4-bedroom house and they tried to get it all into their 2-bedroom apartment, and it just looks like they're hoarding. And it's really unsafe for our seniors because of the clutter that it looks like that's in there. So how can people get in touch with you?
Well, they can call me at 757-553-6879. I have an email address, which is Ann, A-N-N, at my company name, downsizedesigns.com. And my website is www.downsizedesigns.com.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Miss Ann Armistead. And last but not least, we have Miss Crystal Hoy, who's here from the Crossings at Harborview. Tell us a little bit about how people can get in touch with you over there so that they can start this consultation process.
They can call us. Our main number is 757-214-6279.
Okay.
They can look at our website, which is www, and it's a long one. You have to spell out thecrossings@harborview.com. And also we have a welcome center that is on the construction site. We're located right behind the Starbucks on Harborview Boulevard. I suggest making an appointment, but we are open 7 days a week from 9 to 5, 10 to 4 on the weekends.
Okay.
And so stop in or call and make an appointment to visit us at our welcome center, because apartments are going very quickly.
Yes, I saw that.
Yes.
I saw that. Thank you so much, Miss Crystal Hoy, for being on the show. Thank you so much for watching It's Life Changing. God bless you, and I'll see you next time.